Like, that's a game-winning championship goal. I mean, obviously scoring your first goal in the AJ and first goal in the BC is pretty exciting, but it's not like winning a championship for your hometown junior A team.
Donaldson with a drive to the net. They score. The Pickering Panthers have scored with 37.7 seconds left to go in regulation. What an unbelievable ending to this. Ryan Johnstone taps it home between the legs of Warren, and the Panthers are 37.7 seconds away from winning the Buckland Cup.
Oh, welcome back to Beyond the Buck, everybody. This is episode 6, and the Pickering Panthers have just won the Buckland Cup. So they're champions of the OJHL, which means that now they head on to the National Championship, where all the teams from all the other Junior A leagues play to see who becomes the Centennial Cup champion. Now, Ryan Johnstone was the Game 7 hero, scored with 37.7 seconds left on the clock, and the Panthers ended up winning the Buckland Cup. And what a story that was. But just to give you some perspective on what this team was actually made up of, you had players who were playing their last season in the OJHL, playing their last season in junior hockey, which had been such a ride. And then you also had players like Ryan Johnstone, which he was just starting out his career. He had never played Junior A at all before this season. And Ryan Johnstone, he was just a kid that was trying to get through all his classes in high school. Listen to this story.
Like, that was a special moment, and it's still the most special moment of my hockey career.
Yeah. So now, all of a sudden, you get celebrations over. You've just won the Buckland Cup. Who would have thought young Ryan Johnstone, who just came to the team, would win an OJHL championship with his first taste of the OJHL, and you're getting on a plane in the next 2 days to go to Estevan, Saskatchewan. Like, did you ever take a moment, on that off day before we got on the plane? I don't even know if we had an off day and before we got on the plane the next day and think like, oh my God, like what am I doing here?
Yeah, so we won the Sunday night. The Monday, I still in high school. I went to high school that day on the Monday, and my one teacher, who was my afternoon teacher, Mr. Deegan, was my business teacher, and he knew about me leaving school early sometimes, leaving class early to go practice with the Panthers, and he was totally fine with that because I was keeping up with my schoolwork. But when I got to school on Monday and I dropped the bomb on my teachers saying, "Hey, I won't be here for the next 2 weeks. I played in a game last night where we won the championship and now we're going to nationals. So I need the schoolwork that we're going to do for the next 2 weeks sent to me so I can keep up with class." And all my teachers, which just when they kind of just opened their eyes and went, "Holy cow, like, congrats. Just make sure you stay on top of your school."
Okay.
So that's all that was going through my mind. And that day off was, holy cow, won a championship. Holy cow, I'm going to be missing school for 2 weeks playing in the championships. I got to get all my classwork figured out. And then all of a sudden it was like the next day I'm on a plane going out to Estevan. It was just a huge blur.
Well, one of the very important players that we haven't talked to yet in present day has been Ethan Lindsay, who was the heart and soul of the Pickering Panthers. And you remember, he was a big part of why the Pickering Panthers got to this point. When they swept the Milton Menace, it was on the back of 2 big goals by Ethan Lindsay that propelled them to the series sweep. That was a big defining moment for Ethan Lindsay in the playoff series, but it wasn't his legacy that he left in Pickering. He was a leader, and he was a Pickering Panther through and through. Lindsay's first season with Pickering came back in the 2018-19 campaign, when he AP'd for the team. Then in 2019-2022, he got his first goal as a Pickering Panther, played 45 games that season, and played all the way through the Pickering Panthers Buckland Cup run, and then even the next season in 22-23. And just to magnify the impact that Ethan Lindsay had, I just remember for myself personally, Lindsay got traded to the Aurora Tigers after the Panthers season in 22-23. And I remember that being a tough one for me. When I saw that message that Ethan Lindsay had been traded, that was a tough one because he was a fan favorite of both myself and a lot of people in the Pickering Panthers organization. Well, Ethan Lindsay has been listening along for the first 5 episodes and experiencing all the emotions of this Buckland Cup run just like you and I. And I got a chance to chat with Ethan Lindsay as he joins Beyond the Buck.
Oh man, like, you know what? One moment in particular when you were talking about the Buckland Cup, like Game 7, when I was listening, like my palms started sweating. I started getting a pit in my stomach, like I was so nervous, even though I knew the outcome. But I just remember how special that team was, and you know that run was just unbelievable, and you know obviously a lifelong memory for all of us. It's all very key in our hearts for the rest of our careers and for the rest of our lives. But I think the one thing I just remember from that is resilience. Like the amount of games that we went down we got the goals scored on us first. We always had to climb back and always made it a little harder on ourselves. But you know at the end of the day we got the job done. So I just remember resilience.
In front, Alex Natu cycles it to Lucas Lapalme, who's there comfortably. And it goes in! Ethan Lindsay from a sharp angle, and the Pickering Panthers take the lead. Ethan Lindsay out of nowhere.
There's no words, really. You know, this is what we worked for since the beginning, and you know, it's crazy feeling. I've never been part of a team like this before, so it's pretty special. You know, we got a really tight group of guys in the locker room, and I don't know. Honestly, we deserve this, and we work really hard, so we're pumping with the buck.
And little did you know what was about to happen next in the next series, because that was not as easy. You had swept every team, and then you came in and you played the Toronto Junior Canadiens. Like, was that the moment where you guys knew if we do anything but win the Buckland Cup, like this would be a disappointment?
I think honestly, like one thing about our team is that we split like the year into like little goals, right? I think I remember you talking about that. Like we split it like, okay, let's get the point record, and then let's like, okay, let's finish first. Let's try to get home ice advantage, right? And then honestly, we just took it series by series. Like obviously, the ultimate goal at the end of the day was to win and get the buck. So I think we had that belief anyway. Like even I remember Party, like Jacob Partridge, after that Stouffville game, that crazy game in round 1 where we won in game 3. I remember him, like we got off the ice and our door was locked for whatever reason, where we couldn't get in the locker room. And all I remember is Party being like, dude, we're gonna win. We're gonna win this year. And then I think that was just icing on the cake, that game 3. Like, it's like, okay, like now we're actually playing for it. Like, okay, we've accomplished all like these little mini goals that we want to do to get to the ultimate goal. So I think that was always there. But I think maybe the reason why that was the first time you heard us say it is because like we were just so hyper focused on like those mini goals of winning each series, and then obviously our goals during the year. So like that was when it became really like, holy, can't say that word. Holy geez, we're going to the buck. Like it's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Cavi already made me do lots of editing.
Oh, okay. Holy shit, we're going to the buck.
So this is the point in the story where the original Beyond the Buck actually started. Specifically at 6:52 a.m. May 17th, 2022 at the Pickering Recreation Complex. This was the first iPhone video that I started taking. Now, okay, here's the backstory. So I had no idea that I was going to go to Estevan, Saskatchewan with the team until sometime in the JRC series, in the series against the Toronto Junior Canadiens. Scotty Nicholson told me, he said, hey, we have some roster spots available for staff that, you know, if you want to come and run the social media as a volunteer, you can come to Estevan, Saskatchewan with us. So, you know, I remember I do a couple other teams. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team, who I also call games for, in the Intercounty Baseball League, as it was called at the time, they were starting up their season. So I was definitely a bit conflicted, thinking, oh man, you know, I might miss the beginning of this season. Obviously, I still had lots of things to do. It's kind of hard as someone in sport media just to drop everything for 2 weeks. But I also thought in the middle of that JRC series, it's like, man, it's a win-win. no way we actually win the Buckland Cup, right? So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll 100% do it. That would be an experience of a lifetime. And it was. Like, it absolutely was. There's no way this podcast is happening if I didn't end up going on that trip. But lo and behold, we won. And now we're heading out to Estevan, Saskatchewan. So I think I went home. I got, whatever ID or passport I needed to get on the plane. And we were off to Estevan. So we arrive at the arena at 6:52 a.m. And it was funny. If you look around, maybe some of the overagers like Matthew Altomare, he might have been looking a little bit tired coming into the rink. But there was a high, chipper attitude in the air. Everyone got on the bus. We were riding the Oshawa Generals of the Ontario Hockey League. We rode their bus to the airport. Then we got to Pearson Airport, and we boarded our flight to head off to Estevan. And one thing, I'm actually just flipping through some of the videos that I took on that day, and I'm going to be doing that throughout the remainder of this podcast, because I actually have video footage, because I was filming everything throughout the whole run in the national championship. And I'm flipping through, and it's funny because when we get into the airport, COVID-19 it was still very much a thing, but it was the season prior that had shut everything down. So everyone was wearing a mask. I totally forgot about that. So everyone walks off the bus. They're all wearing their Pickering Panther masks, and you walk on the plane, and obviously the rules were very strict for that. And everyone gets on the plane, and then I'm scrolling through here. I think it was just after noon that we landed in Estevan, Saskatchewan, and we headed over to the rink. All right, let's get into the national championship. This was such a cool experience for everyone. I remember you guys walked into that rink at Affinity Place, and everyone was looking around, especially guys who didn't play major junior hockey like yourself and so many other players on the team. You guys must have been thinking, like, man, like we made it. This is really cool.
Yeah, I don't think it. Like I speak for myself, I was not expecting, like, when you're like, okay, we're going to Estevan, Saskatchewan, and then you get to Estevan, Saskatchewan, you're not expecting to walk into that arena and see that kind of facility. I feel like it was kind of like a holy moment, like, this is real, right? Like, we're like actually about to have a chance to play for the national title on TSN. Like, obviously there was a lot of work to be done before that moment, but there's a possibility that, like, we're playing here in front of, like, at that point we're like, we could be playing here against Estevan in the finals in front of, like, an absolutely packed arena on TSN for a chance to win the national title. So I was like a very surreal moment.
Yeah, the Estevan Bruins were the home team, and they had a gorgeous facility. So it was called Affinity Place. That was the home rink that they played at, and that was the host venue for the Centennial Cup. And there were a lot of players that were kind of in awe when they walked into that rink. I mean, take Lucas Lapalme, for example. I spoke to him right afterwards.
You never know what to expect walking into a new rink, but it met the standards of a national championship, is all I have to say about that.
And for a lot of these players, this was a major junior rink, and there weren't a lot of players that had played major junior hockey. I mean, it looked like an OHL or a WHL or a QMJHL facility.
It's gonna be super cool to play in that rink. We went there today before we came to the hotel. It's pretty cool. It's one of the coolest rinks I've ever seen, for sure.
So with all the excitement and the spectacular rink, it didn't leave the Pickering Panthers much time to get ready. In just 2 days' time, they would play their first game of the national championship against the Red Lake Miners.
That's like the next morning, like when we're kind of getting our plane tickets sorted, all of our stuff. It was like, okay, like we're going to play for Natty. Like we can go win some, we can win more. That's kind of what it was, and we were red hot. So we were like, let's bring it. Like let's go. Like we had so much confidence in our room. Like going over there, like we're coming off fresh. We played 2 days ago for like the biggest game of our careers at that point. And there were some teams like who were off for a month, so we already felt like we had an advantage. So right. I'd say like the day after the championship, when we were flying, I was like, okay, here we go. Let's get back to work. Let's go win a natty. Like we went there with all intentions of winning. Like we were like, we can win it.
And that was a huge factor that Ethan Lindsay brought up. The Pickering Panthers were one of the few teams that had actually played a hockey game together in the last month. There were teams like the Red Lake Miners, who the Pickering Panthers were about to face, who won the championship in their respective Junior A League, but that was over a month ago. This was my interview with Ian Martin before the Panthers' first game. Okay, Ian, first game here in Estevan. What are your expectations coming into this one?
You know, like, we haven't really seen that many other teams. You know, I think if we come in here, we play our game, especially against Red Lake. You know, we got the speed, you know, we got the possession, and I think if we come out with the same game plan we had against JRC, that we'll do just fine.
This is a team you don't know at all. I know you watched them a little bit in practice the other day.
Yeah.
What do you expect from this team, a different league, a team you haven't seen?
Yeah, watching, you know, they're big boys, but I think that might benefit us. We're a fast team, we're a speedy team, and I think if we bring our speed today, I think we'll be fine.
And this is how Pickering's first game went against Red Lake. First period, Lucas Lapalme scores 3 minutes, that makes it 1-0. Then Elijah Pilasov tacks on a goal 3 minutes later. Immediately, Red Lake makes a goaltending change. They switch things up. Then Dustin Hutton scores. Then Red Lake comes back with one. Then Pickle scores. Ian Martin scores. And after the first period, it was 5-2 Pickering Panthers. By the end of the game, the Panthers had won their first game of the national championship 9-2. It wasn't even close. Were you expecting to be... I don't know if you thought this way, but were you expecting to be that much better than some of the teams that were in that tournament?
I don't want to be negative to other leagues, but like, there were some teams who were like, okay, like, we're going to make a statement. And, you know, obviously we had Red Lake. They're in the SI. They're pretty far up north. I'd say I didn't think we were going to be like I didn't think there was going to be those kind of margins. Yeah, I would say we had a lot of confidence, but I didn't think it was going to be like, holy geez, like that much goal differential.
Yeah, I mean, we just came off OJ championship game, so we've had a long playoff run and a few days off, so it's nice to come here and kind of build off that.
That was the voice of assistant captain Eli Pilasov, who had added one of the many goals that the Pickering scored in that game. So the Panthers had a couple traditions that they would do after wins or whatever it was, and we'll get into some of those as we go along. But one of them I thought was really cool. So they had this wooden red P that had a bunch of slots in it. In fact, there were 16 holes, all the exact size to fit a puck. So after every win the Panthers had in the playoffs, they would get the game puck. Rob Pearson would give it to one of the players that he chose from the game, and the player would punch the puck into the slot in the P. So as of now, before this game, the Panthers had 11 of them to represent the wins that they needed to win the Buckland Cup. And there were still 5 empty slots that they needed to fill to win a national championship. So when the Panthers won their first game against Red Lake, Rob Pearson threw the game puck to Ian Martin, who slammed it into the wooden P that the Panthers had hanging on the wall in their locker room.
Move in the street and shoot some pucks.
Yeah!
Hey, everybody up, let's go.
Another one of the more silly traditions they had on this trip, and this one was wild. So there was something, and I'll be honest, I probably am telling this story a little bit incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure what it was, where every time we went to a restaurant, someone would go and try and put some butter on someone's shoe. And bear with me here. If you got butter on your shoe, it meant that you had to stand up in front of the entire restaurant that we were at and sing karaoke. So this happened almost every single time we went out for dinner, lunch, breakfast, anything. So I'm very sorry, Scotty Nicholson, but I'm playing yours first here, because this was one of the more ruthless ones. So Scotty and I are sitting down at a really nice dinner that Richard Pilasov, the Panthers owner, had bought for everybody. And in the video that I'm looking at right now, there's Richard Pilasov, there's Marty Savoy, the commissioner of the Ontario Junior Hockey League, Rob Pearson and Rico Sirizotti. So a big cast of characters all in this video, including the entire restaurant. And Scotty Nicholson stands up and just belts out "Don't Stop Believin'," and it was glorious.
town girl. And the only word. She took the midnight train going anywhere.
The rink is beautiful, but when you go to Saskatchewan, and you were there too, there's not much to do otherwise. I remember sitting there, I'm like, okay, we're done the game or whatever. Beautiful rink, we can walk around the rink, but we've already done that. What else can we do? And not a whole lot, but there was still some good bonding moments throughout the thing. We played some cards and stuff throughout the hotel, and we're together. Jen, our trainer, wake us up early in the morning for morning walks. I know a lot of our guys, like myself and the older guys, were like, no, we're gonna sleep in today, Jen. We don't need to go for our morning walk over here. It's okay. Like, I'll walk in my sleep. How about that? But she ended up kicking our doors down and going for the morning walks, which they did help. You got to get up and get the body moving and stuff like that. But, yeah, Estevan were great hosts. It was a good organized tournament.
So look, regardless of the circumstances, the Pickering Panthers definitely felt the enormity of the situation that they were in, a chance to win a national championship, and absolutely no one took that for granted. But they also found ways to entertain themselves, and at this point, this team was just so well bonded together. They had been through so much together to get to this point, and they had a lot of fun when they weren't on the ice. So the Panthers were 1-0. And before we get too much further, I think we should describe how this tournament works. So there were 10 teams from Alberta, Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, and just like in the OJAHL, remember how the Toronto Junior Canadiens and Pickering Panthers were going back and forth all year to see who was going to be the 1 seed? Well, that was an even bigger deal in the Centennial Cup, because whoever won the 1 seed in their group would get a bye to the next round. And after the Panthers beat the Red Lake Miners 9-2 in their first game, they were pretty confident. And all of a sudden, they were looking at the schedule and thinking they should be the team that would be the 1 seed. So that became the goal. Another one of the mini goals that the Pickering Panthers had all season long. Pickering's group consisted of Red Lake, Estevan, Collège Français de Longueuil, themselves, and the Brooks Bandits. And Pickering knew that it was going to come down to them or the Brooks Bandits. That's what they thought at the time. So that was Group A. In Group B, they had the Dauphin Kings, the Summerside Western Capitals, the Flin Flon Bombers, the Ottawa Junior Senators, and the Sioux Thunderbirds. And when the round robin ended, teams would cross over and play teams from the other group.
Hey, Lucas Lapalme.
Hey, man.
Why are you in such a good mood?
I mean, playing the hometown team, no better reason why not to be.
Think you're going to win tonight? The next game for the Pickering Panthers was big, as you heard Lucas Lapalme say there. It was the hometown team, the Estevan Bruins, playing in that spectacular barn that we had talked about earlier. And look, on paper, the Panthers knew that they had a much better team than Estevan. But there were some factors to contend with. Estevan was the hometown team. The fans in Estevan loved the Bruins. I mean, you would go around the city, every restaurant you'd look at, they'd have Estevan Bruins flags up in the window. You'd see trucks pulling around with Estevan Bruins license plates and flags coming out of their windows. There was a lot of hype around this town, and the Estevan Bruins, being the hometown team, they fed off that. Now, you might be wondering as well, they were the hosts, so they had an automatic bye to play in the national championship. They were not just there because they were the hosts. They actually won the SIJHL up against the Flin Flon Bombers, which meant the 2 teams that went to the finals in the SIJHL were both going to the national championship no matter what. But they were also champions of their respective league. They were SIJHL champions. And the Estevan Bruins took it right to the Pickering Panthers. They scored the first goal of the hockey game and came out of the first period leading 3-2. And the second period didn't solve a lot for the Panthers either. After 2 periods of play, this game was tied 5-5, and the Panthers had just 20 minutes to try and sort things out and get their second win of the preliminary round. Next episode will continue the Panthers' journey on their quest for the Centennial Cup in Estevan, Saskatchewan, and of course give you the conclusion of this wild game between the Pickering Panthers and Estevan Bruins. Also, if you want, there is a video version of this podcast as well. So we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the episode, but Beyond the Buck was originally a video series that I started when I got invited to go out to Estevan, Saskatchewan with the Pickering Panthers on this run. So the original Beyond the Buck, that actually started right when you're listening to this podcast in May 2022. But I will say it is very brief. At the time, we were working with 2-minute episodes, so we could post them on Instagram and Twitter as well at the time. So there are very abbreviated versions of what happened, but if you are interested in kind of seeing some of the sights and sounds and getting a visual on what everything looked like in Estevan, Saskatchewan, you can go over to the Pickering Panthers YouTube channel. That's where I originally started this series, and you'll see some familiar faces and you'll hear some familiar voices that you've heard in this episode as well. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in episode 7.